welcome to another episode of We Read It One Night, the podcast where we invite you to join the romance revolution and find your joy. Today, we're discussing SAVANNAH'S Secrets by Reese Ryan, a deliciously delightful Harlequin romance. We've also got a special surprise in store for you. Keep listening to find out what it is. Enjoy the show! Hello!
Hi, everyone.
Happy belated Valentine's Day.
Yay!
And Galentine's Day, and we'll make today's 2/15, so we'll make it Broentine's Day. And tomorrow can be like non-binary times day. You know, we just want to be inclusive.
Of course.
For everybody. Everybody deserves love. This is the week of love, the month of love. If you have any hot takes about the romance genre, keep them to yourself. Unless you are an actual romance reader. I don't want your article about why 50 Shades of Grey is ruining the world. So this is Alison, in case you still can't recognize our voices, which, fair.
Fake fan.
That's no, but I mean, there are podcasts I've listened to for years where I'm still is that, which host is that? Rachel is being a smarty pants and is writing her dissertation right now.
Yay!
And so we have a wonderful surprise guest host today. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, this is Dana. I have known Alison for way longer than either of us care to admit. So Alison texted me last weekend because
2 weeks.
Really?
2 weeks.
Are you
notice.
serious? Holy crap! Okay, so that tells you how rushed I was reading this book, because I am the slowest reader ever. I went to school, I got 2 English degrees, and I am the slowest reader ever. But yeah, so Alison is rocking this hot romance podcast. And it's just phenomenal, and I'm over here, and my, reader's input is Alison, I read this new erotica or whatever, and she's keep that crap off my podcast.
No!
Until this week, with SAVANNAH'S Secrets, and holy crap, what a damn ride. I read the synopsis that, in the initial text when you told me what to read, and I was 100%. If I wasn't on board before, it's a hard yes for me.
Yes. But yeah, today we are doing SAVANNAH'S Secrets by Reese Ryan.
A sexy workplace romance.
Yes. So it is a category romance, which is the Harlequin, short, sweet, 60,000 words, filled with tropes. You just bang it out.
Correct.
Versus the more traditional romances that we have usually done on the podcast. But I love a good category, and categories are honestly the only thing I can read with my eyeballs these days. Because what
does that mean? What do you mean? Oh, as opposed to an audiobook?
As opposed to audiobooks, I just listen, 2020 me was mainlining with my eyeballs every night, including this book.
On a screen, which
on
sucked.
a screen on my phone, and actually reading.
I'm so happy libraries are open again.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Well, I was reading, I quick downloaded all my library apps.
Yeah.
And was reading 2020 and 2021, and now 2022 me is on that audiobook train, and these kinds of short, sweet, read it in a sitting books are the ones that I can live with my eyeballs. Yeah. Also monster romance. I feel no matter the length.
Oh my god.
When he's got 3 penises, I think definitely.
Ladies, am I right?
Tuna, we got Iceland Barbarians and Blackstone Dragon if you are interested in things like that. Episodes. Okay, so yeah, today we're doing SAVANNAH'S Secrets by Reese Ryan. It is the first book in the Bourbon Brothers series, named so because all these bros own a distillery. And they're super fancy.
Yeah, there's only 2 books in the series.
No, there's more. There's 8. There's only 2
it says
at the
part
library.
4. Oh.
Yeah. Or maybe not 8. There's a bunch of them. Our 2 main characters are Blake Abbott. He is some sort of vice president / in line to be the CEO of his family's bourbon company, King's Finest Distillery. And he's in line to be CEO. And I read his brother, speaking of Parker's book, he has a brother, Parker, Max, Cole, and Zora. Those are his siblings.
Oh, yeah.
And Parker, they're all in the company except for Cole, who has a construction business. But
Blake is basically, like, in line to become CEO because he's the oldest, and in Parker's book, Parker's like, I want to be CEO, so, like, I'm gonna, like, overthrow him or whatever. It's not, like, actually dramatic, but... And I just, like, love this, like, primogeniture shit, like, this, like, British aristocracy, like, you know I love a good historical, and, like, so this is just, like, the British aristocracy, but, like, with, like, bourbon in, like, Tennessee or Kentucky or whatever the fuck this book takes place. It takes place in, like, Magnolia Lake, not a real place. The first time I read this, I was like, this place sounds so nice, like, where is it? It doesn't exist. And then our heroine is Savannah Carlyle.
Of course it is.
And she can step on me, frankly.
Oh my god. You know what?
I love her.
I don't mean to expose you, but I was like... Well, first of all, I texted Alison yesterday. With actual anxiety, I was like... can I not curse on this podcast? Because Alison is so, like, we both went to school for English, and you're, like, so well-spoken. And I'm like, this girl is on my last nerve. Like, that's me, like, with my great literary analysis. And you were like, you know, oh my gosh, that's fine. Like, we generally try to speak positive about the book, but also not afraid to roast the characters and also go on tangents. So here I am. I absolutely will be going on a tangent about Savannah freaking Carlyle. Savannah, my blood pressure has never been so dangerously high. Savannah Carlyle is a menace to Magnolia Lake. And I can tell you, it's, page 2? She's, like, saunters in, and I gotta tell you, all that happens in this book, she's constantly sauntering. Like, even, like, in emotional moments, it's like, and then, like, tears in her eyes, she sauntered her, like, you know, beautiful hourglass body. I'm like, can we not objectify Savannah for exactly 11 seconds in this whole book?
She's hot.
She is
not her fault, and she's so hot that, like...
She only wears, like, a very specific kind of outfit.
Yes.
It's the off-the-shoulder business, and something that... I'm like, her everything accentuates, you know, her figure, and I'm like, heck yeah, I've only just recently started dressing for my body shape, so, like, who knew?
Great.
But it's all that this dude notices about her. For 90% of the book, he's like, yeah, and she was so gorgeous. I'm like, dude, this girl is literally she's such a top, honestly. Savannah is, like, she's brutal on page 2. He's like, oh, can I get out of this interview? And she's like, poof, and, like, kicks the door in.
In a skirt suit.
Yeah.
She comes in a full...
Savannah is furious. Like, she is holding no bars. Like, she's getting this job, and she's like, I'm not gonna take over the company. I'm just gonna avenge my grandfather. And yes. I'm like, BS. You come in this skirt suit. You're telling me you're not here to spill blood?
With her stilettos. You know she's walking around in, like, 6-inch heels. And, like, somehow not stumbling at all. Like, she just floats a little bit, so, like, she doesn't have to worry about
what you don't know is she was constantly just holding, like, a whip the whole book. Like, they never mention it, honestly, but she just, like, between chapters is like, whoosh.
There are little, like, kinky moments here, but which we'll talk about, like, when we get to them. But yeah, so the setup is that, so Blake is, like, the VP or whatever. He has to interview Savannah for the new event. My applesauce came out. I had one of those applesauce packets. Those. I had one of those.
Get some ASMR on this podcast.
The number of times I've had to edit out, like, eating videos, like, Rachel and I, so many times will, like, we'll be just sitting down to record, and then my brother will come in and be like, do you guys want Chipotle? And we'll be like, duh. So he comes in, we're like half hour into the podcast, and he, like, brings Chipotle, and then me and her are just, like, trying to quietly, like, eat Chipotle. I have to sit there editing back, and I hate eating sounds. So I'm editing it back, and I'm like highlighting the gentle eating sounds in the background. Like,
okay, where's that sentence in any period romance? No, this isn't period, but, like, any romance where it's like gentle eating.
The gentle eating of her cunning.
Pinkies up.
Okay, so Savannah's here to interview for the event manager position. She is actually here to avenge her grandfather, who she has grown up hearing stories about how Blake's grandfather, Grandpa Abbott, stole, like, her grandfather's, Grandpa Carlisle's,
bourbon
recipe. And she's like, I'm here not to destroy the company, but to get 50% of the shares.
For my grandfather.
Yes, because they grew up, her whole thing is, like, they grew up really poor, and, like, her parents, you find out later, her parents died in, like, a tenement fire. It was really horrible, and, like, a good commentary on poverty in America. But she's like, if Grandpa Abbott hadn't cheated my grandfather, we would have not been poor. My parents probably wouldn't have died, and, like, I would have had all this stuff that I didn't have. And so she's like walking in, and she's like, I fucking hate these losers, but I'm also really fucking good at my job. That's the thing. She's like, I'm so competent. I'm gonna be the best event manager they have ever seen, while also simultaneously, like, spying on them. And I love it.
It, like, and that becomes, like, something that they question later in the book. They're like, well, if you were here to destroy the or to, you know, whatever, get just info on the company so that you get 50% or whatever, why were you so, like, invested in the job? And, like, other, you know, someone else is, like, defending her, and they're like, but she was so invested in the job, she must like you, Blake. I'm like, or homegirl's just like, well, I'm obviously not gonna do poorly at my job, because then I'll get fired, and then I can't do, they're, like, so blown away that this woman is so good at her job. I'm like, she is talented. She can also have an agenda, but, like...
Well, that's the thing, because they're like, well, if she really wanted to destroy the company, like, she had ample opportunity to do that.
This crap takes place in, like, 3 months. It's like, she, like, comes in, and I think their family's, like, anniversary gala or, like, some crap, like, she,
so she's coming, they're hiring her to plan the, like, 50th anniversary of them, not the 50th anniversary of the grandpa making bourbon, but the 50th anniversary of him doing it legally.
Yeah!
Which is great, because he was, like, a moonshine runner before. And so she's coming in to, like, plan the gala, and also just, like, plan, like, do, like, events for them in general, because they're trying to expand the company.
And she does it, like, beautifully.
Yes, she's fabulous. She's so fucking competent. But yeah, she walks in. Blake is obviously, like we said, like, immediately aroused. And, like, I can just imagine him, you know that gif of, it's, like, Julia Louis-Dreyfus in, like, Veep or whatever, and she's like, I'm in danger.
Yes!
That's Blake. As soon as she walks in, he's like, oh, fuck.
God.
And he's, like, immediately aroused, but then he's like, there's a no dating employees rule.
Like an unspoken
rule, like, you can't date employees. And I'm like, this is the same thing as, like, that kind of shit, like, I'm definitely not gonna fall in love with her. You can't date your employees. Like, a no dating employees rule in a workplace romance is the same thing as, like, a character in a horror movie going downstairs to check the spooky noise in the basement. Like, you know their fate. You're like,
okay, so they're gonna bang. Like, that's why it's unspoken. They're like, if we make it spoken, if you're like, no, you're not allowed, then he's like, I'm gonna do it. I did it. But I did.
Girl, I'm not gonna do it. I was thinking about it. I did it. No, but yeah, at one point, though, he does, like, think about, like, fucking her on his desk. And I'm, like, very disappointed that never actually happened.
They brought it up. I think I made a note of that. They brought it up, like, 3 times. It never happened. Yeah.
They do fuck at the 50th anniversary thing. It's pretty hot.
Oh,
we'll talk about that later. We will talk about that.
Okay.
We're not gonna skip ahead. Okay. Yeah. So he's super aroused, and Savannah's just like, I want to step on you. And I kind of love this trope of, like, it's like on her side it's enemies to lovers, on his side it's just, like, secret pining, because he's just so oblivious. He's like a little puppy. He just, like, has no idea. Like, he's like, oh my god, she's so hot, like, oh, I love her so much, and she's like, I fucking hate you. Yeah. I'm gonna carve out your heart and also ride your dick.
There's literally one part where I was like, I gotta find it in my notes, but I was like, Blake, we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Like, he's just, like, this, like, scrumptious man or whatever, who's just, like, he's, like, super, like, loyal to his family, and, like, they really hone in. He is, like, a really hot guy. And then, like, he's, like, so legitimately taken by her, and, like, beyond just, like, the sexual way. I think, like, the second time they meet, like, she just has, like, an interest in how the bourbon process is made. Spoiler alert, and so that she can, like, ruin his family's life. But he's just like,
ruin their
he's
life,
like,
take half their shit.
She wants to ruin half of his life. Is that fair? And he's like, wow, we have the same interests, like, soulmates. And he makes her a strawberry rhubarb because she mentions it one time, and he's like, good morning, princess. And meanwhile, she's like, I'm gonna ruin half of this guy's life.
he is in the dictionary.
He is a golden retriever.
Next to the word simp. It's Blake Abbott's face.
Oh my god.
He's such a simp, and I love it. So, yeah, so she gets hired, obviously, because she's mega competent.
Mm-hmm.
And she is, like, she has a sister named Lainey, and, like, her sister has a niece named Harper. It's whatever. She has a sister and a niece. And her sister's like, dude, don't fucking do this.
Like,
you're gonna go to jail. And, like, Savannah's like,
I'm not gonna go to jail.
But she's also, like, after her interview for Blake, she's like, my plan for revenge may be affected by the fact that I find Blake very hot. Like, this may complicate things.
Listen. Yeah. Which I get. Yeah, like, that's fine.
She's like, my lady boner may get in the way.
Damn it. She's like, I'm being led with my penis again.
My clit is just like, being pulled around with a clit. Her nipples are always like pointy, so she's just
they
like,
point north, which is just wherever Blake is.
It's like and I watched Pirates of the Caribbean recently, so it's like the compass in Pirates of the Caribbean that like points towards your heart's desire.
Yep.
Like that's Savannah's nipple.
Exactly. And she's like, no, I need to work late so I can get all the dirt and ruin your family's life. But also, like, my goodness, what an incredible specimen you are, Blake
so
Abbott.
Yeah.
Holy crap. In this book, how many times, I couldn't go through it, they say their full names. Or it's like, an Abbott, or, of course, Blake Abbott, and it's like, and then Savannah Carlyle, you guessed it, sauntered into my office. They use full names all the time.
Well, with the Abbott, she has to, it's like very much a part of like her, because, like, her grandfather's like, never trust an Abbott. Like, that's
oh my god, I get it, but it's like, girl, just do them or don't.
But
like,
she's like, well, she is doing that, but it's like her, like, it shows her, like, I guess, like, the transition from her, like, trying to fight that feeling and being like, he's an Abbott, I can't trust him, but also I'm really aroused.
Alison, you know like, that is the same energy as in Fairly Odd Parents when he's like, Dinkelberg. Everything's fine. It's like, oh, he's an Abbott. Like, I'm just like, holy crap. Okay, I get it. Like, anyway, so, yeah.
Okay, so she meets the rest of the fam and she, like, wins them over with her, how competent she is. But then, yeah, I just love, like, this whole time she, like, meets him and she's like, oh my god, they're so nice. Like, Blake is so nice and also hot. He's described as, like, the Black Thor at one point.
He is!
And I'm like, yeah, I love it. And I just imagine her because she has to keep, she's like, wow, the Abbotts are so nice, but no, they're the enemy. And I'm just imagining
there's like
her,
little
like,
lightning bolts all the time.
Gollum. Like,
that is
she's like Gollum versus Smeagol this whole time.
I'm not
she's
kidding.
Like, enemy, but hot.
There'll be like 4 paragraphs in one page of just like, oh, he's so sweet, and he has such a great family, and they have such a Dinkelberg, but like, I really love this job. It's like, like, she's just constantly at war with herself.
She's like, no,
yes, but no.
So, okay, so she gets a tour. She's getting a tour of the distillery.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
The distillery. I actually learned a little bit about how distillers work from this book. I was like, wow.
It's educational.
Yeah. It's like, oh, the bourbon process. That's enjoyable.
Yeah, so she's getting a tour, and then he comes, and his like, secretary's giving him the tour.
Who I thought was going to be a way bigger part of this book.
No, she's just like,
I thought she was going to be the fun friend.
Nah, she's just a secretary.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, I have to go to my daughter's soccer game. She, like, runs off. And he's like, I'm going to give you the deluxe tour. And I'm like, is that a metaphor for your penis?
The magnum. I mean, deluxe tour.
I'm like, is that, do you mean your dick?
Yeah. He shows her exactly one thing.
Yeah. Well, no, they do go around. They just, Reese Ryan is like, I know y'all don't want the actual, like,
it's true,
full description of the whiskey tour. She's like, I got 60,000 words. Like,
well, also, so Savannah gets all riled up because he, like, mentions something about, like, the family, and then she's like, I gotta go. Yeah. I gotta go. And he's like, I clearly upset her.
He talks about how much he loves his grandpa. And she's like, your grandpa's the devil!
Which, like, I don't know if you've ever met someone, like, literally the first day you meet them, and they have, like, a dramatic exit. And there's no part of me, I don't even care if they're hot, that's like, oh, I really upset them. I'm like, holy guacamole. Like, no. I literally just met you. You're doing this dramatic exit crap. And he feels so, again, golden retriever. he feels so bad that he's, like, upset her in this vague way. He was just talking about bourbon and his family, which was, like, a real, like, dude moment, where it's just like, oh, what did I do?
She's ready to, like, push him into a vat of whiskey, and he's like, yeah, my grandpa's the nicest guy ever, and she's like, I'm gonna kill you. But so she's like walking out, and we have a classic like trip and fall into his arms. She, like, her stiletto heels unfortunately get caught in the gravel, and she like falls into his arms, and they're both like, oh my god.
Literally jump cut to 50 Shades of Grey. The bike randomly almost hits her. Like, goodbye, Mr. Grey. Goodbye, Mr. Abbott.
So now we learn about Blake's ex-girlfriend.
My god!
His ex-girlfriend, basically they were together for a long time. She didn't get along with his family, and he feels very guilty. He was like, I can't believe I almost chose her over my family, because she ended up, like, dumping him and leaving him. And her name is Gavrila, which sounds like the name of the heretofore unnamed third evil stepsister. Like, Anastasia, Drusilla, Gavrila. Gavrila's just, like, in the closet.
I was like,
Cinderella,
dude, I was like, why did they give this ex-girlfriend the most, the most unfuckable name? Like, who's gonna yell out, oh, Gavrila?
Versus Savannah.
Like, how do you shorten that? Yeah, Gavi, or just
It means, I looked up the name because I wanted to know, like, because it's obviously
I was like, that's not a real name.
It means, it's Hebrew, and it means, like, joy to God or something.
Holy
like, something like that. Or, like, woman of God or something, which is ironic because she's a bitch.
Because she's a bitch.
But I did look it up. It is a real name.
I'm like, she couldn't be, like, Kate, or, like, Bianca, like, or whatever, some, like, really generic, like, oh, she broke my heart name.
All the other people in this book have, like, pretty, like, basic names, like Blake, Savannah, Parker.
Very southern names.
Like, Cole. Yeah. And, like, there's, like, a Kaylee that's spelled the Mormon weird way. But then we have, like, Gavrila. It's like Iris, Duke, or Blake's parents. Like, Joe Abbott is Grandpa Abbott. Like, all of these people have very, like, basic southern names, and then we have Gavrila.
I feel like they didn't like her just because, you know how, like, old people are like, why does she have such a weird name? Why couldn't it just be Gabby or whatever? Like, I had an ex-boyfriend, and, like, I told my parents what his full name was, and my dad literally was like, alright, well, I'm not calling him by his full name because that's stupid. Like, no one... Oh. He's like, I'm not doing that. So I feel like they were like, what's his... Gavrila? It's like, no. Savannah? Perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yes. Listen, if any of Dana's ex-boyfriends are listening, go fuck yourself.
Allison's a real one.
That's all I have to say. So Blake is Blake's still fucking horny, and he thinks that he's just gotta, like, go on a business trip and, like, fuck someone so he can, like, get it out of his system. And I'm like, you're a fool. You're already trapped.
Oh my god, I forgot about that. That's right. Yeah.
He doesn't actually do it. He doesn't go fuck anyone. Which I don't like when once the hero has, like, met the heroine, like, for real.
Yeah.
I don't like him to, like...
There's so often, like, the first thing is like, oh, and then, like, I had, like, sex with this girl who I didn't know, or, like, a girl who I, like, regularly just have casual sex with. And then, like, at the end of the chapter, it's like, but I couldn't get Savannah off my mind, or whatever. And I was like, oh, glad they didn't do that in this book, because it's short, and we just want to get to the pregnancy.
No spoilers. No, I do like, though, and the only reason this is the top of my mind is because I just read a book like this of when, like, the hero has suddenly is like really, he's like, oh my god, like, I like her, and then he's like, shit, I have to get her out of my system, and then he goes to his, like, usual hookup house. Then he's like, I can't hook up with, like, it's like, I don't want to hook up with you.
She's like, literally, why are you here?
And the hookup is like, boy, like, go back to
She's like, my Easy Mac's about to be done in the microwave, like, in this wrap up.
Like, I got a vibrator, I got my Velveeta, like, I'm fine. And, like, I do really like that.
And then all of a sudden you want a book about her.
Oh, I do. I always want a book about her. And you know what? Half the time I get a book about her, too, which I'm like, great. I love it. And then she is constantly like, she has, like, an espionage journal. She, like, goes home after work and she's, like, opening her journal full of, like, notes on the thing, and I'm like, we love an organized
my
gal.
god,
she's
a Virgo.
Wonderful.
Savannah Carlyle's a Virgo, and you heard it here first.
Amazing. I don't know.
She's very notes oriented. She's nothing without her planner.
Yes. I mean, true. She's been working there a month, and she keeps getting invited to Friday drinks and saying no, because she's like, I can't get attached to this town. And I'm like, honey, you got a big storm
Come
coming.
in.
And she's also like, shit, I really like this job, and I'm really good at this job. Like, what a conflict. And, like, I really like that the conflict isn't just, shit, I really like Blake, and I don't want to hurt him, but it's also like, no, I like everything
the
about
job,
my life
yeah.
here. Like, I like my life separate
She's
from
got a
Blake
really
as
nice
well.
landlord who she'll eventually become kind of tight with.
And now we have the rainstorm.
Oh my god. Literally, it was like, Savannah worked late, and I was like, yep, of course she did. This is like chapter 3 or some
She's
crap.
been working late every night to be
Yeah,
fair.
but
She's,
it was like they
constantly
started it with we worked late, and it was like, they heard like a rumble outside, and she's like, oh, I better go. And I go, well, now I suddenly know how this whole chapter is gonna
late. I
go.
love it.
And please continue, because this whole time I just had this satisfied, of course that happened.
So she goes out in the rainstorm. She has her tiny little, like, shit car, and this place, like, probably floods a bunch. Like, and there's only, like, one bridge into her town. So basically, like, the bridge that she needs to get home is flooded, and, like, if she tries to drive over it with her car, like,
she's hosed.
She's drowning, and if she tries to drive over it in Blake's truck, he's like, the bridge is gonna collapse. Like, we can't go over that bridge. So he's like, but I live on this side of the river.
Little did we know, Blake flooded the bridge.
Little did we know, Blake's, like, jacking off into the stream.
Blake is literally...
Come on!
He's been doing a rain dance since Savannah walked in sashayed into the office.
Blake rolls in with his big time. She's like trying to start the car, and then he, like, knocks on the window, and she's like, ah! She, like, thinks she's about to be murdered, but it's actually just Blake looking like, quote, the Black Thor. This is where that quote comes in. And she's,
wait,
like,
I get that
pissed.
now. It's because he's the god of... Yeah.
And she's, like, pissed. She's like, oh my god, like, he's both hot and really nice. Like, he's being really considerate right now. And it's, like, so... I'm like... She's like, God, why does he have to have a good personality?
The southern charm, of course.
So he drives her to his house in his big man truck. Because it's flooding. And so they go to his house. And he even gives her, like, his jacket to keep her warm.
Oh
she's like,
she gives him his Letterman jacket.
Classic. Yeah. And I was like, I love a matchmaking storm. Like, a storm that's like, alright, you dummies need to get together. Like, time to thunder, like, get them in. So she's staying at his house. And she's like, oh, my dress is, like, do you have something I can change into? Because she's, like, soaking wet. And he's like, oh, I don't know whether I have anything that fits you. And I'm like, bro, sweatpants and a sweatshirt. Like, you don't have anything with a drawstring. So he eventually just gives her, like, a big t-shirt, and she's not wearing pants, which is very hot, and, like, it's such a classic, like,
100%.
Man, like, has his, like, dick going up to the moon.
But she does.
Because, like, he's so turned on by this girl in his shirt, and
there's
love that
no
trope.
drawstring.
But I'm like, you don't have a single pair of, like, Champion sweatpants that you can give her, sir? Or, like, like, basketball shorts that have, like, elastic.
And the off chance that this girl wasn't gonna hook up with him or fall, like, madly in love with him, you know, in the storm or whatever, I'd be like, so my employer brought me home and gave me exactly one University of whatever t-shirt and no pants, and then was like, come out for dinner, like wouldn't feed me unless, you know, like, I get it, he's a southern charmer, but I'm like, dude, give me, like, work pants and a belt. I don't care, like...
You don't have anything? Yeah. So he gets there, she meets his dogs, Sam and Benny, and Sam is, like, a rescue dog, but Benny, bring back Gavrilla, he bought Benny as, like, a surprise for Gavrilla, and then he comes home...
And she reverse Uno'd him.
Yeah, he's like, I have a surprise for you, and she's like, I'm in love with somebody else, I'm leaving.
I want, like, just a one chapter about Gavrilla.
I want Gavrilla's. I read a book recently. It's not out yet. But it's basically, the premise of it is that, like, the other woman in the Hallmark Christmas movie, like, is the heroine of the book.
Awesome.
Like, she's the one that, like, always gets dumped by, like, her boyfriends for small town ladies.
Dumb.
And so she finally gets her happy ending. And I was like, I want Gavrilla, like, I want her
It's just Sharpay's Fabulous Adventure.
Yeah! Yeah, so she meets his dogs. She also rolls in. He has a sick house. And she's immediately like, would maybe worth hooking up with him just for his sick house. Yeah. He also has a boat and a plane.
What? I missed that.
Yeah, it's one... I missed it the first time I read it, too, but I was reading it this time. And she's just like, she walks into, like, another room, and she's like, and it provided
This is the boat room.
This
is the plane room.
Because he has, like, big windows, and it's like a beautiful mountain and lake view or whatever in his like fancy house. But she's like, she walks into her room and it's like the windows provided a perfect view of like the boat tied at the dock and the amphibious plane tied at the dock too.
Oh my god!
So he has both a boat and a plane, and at this point I'd be like fuck, try to get half the company, just marry him, and then if you still want half the company, divorce him and get it to happen before.
Oh my, yeah. Oh god!
Like, get to ride in the plane at least once before you fuck this up, Savannah.
Well, okay. Well, towards the end of the book, he thinks maybe that's part of the reason why things happened, and you know, that plane looks pretty. She's like, you know what? I won't take the boat, but plane looks pretty good. Yeah.
And so then he, like, you know, makes her an omelet or something. Like, he makes them dinner, and he had to cook because Gavrilla didn't like his family, and they never went over for family dinner. She never wanted to go over to family dinner, so he had to learn to cook.
Oh my god!
That's
dude!
So sad. And this is the point where Savannah decides to use her, like, sex appeal to spy. She's like fully going. She's like, you know what? Like, he finds me hot, and I might as well use that to my advantage. She's also like a little bit like a Bachelor villain at this case, because she's like, I'm not here to make friends.
Oh my god!
I'm here for my goal. I'm here to win.
Oh god, yeah. All right, keep going. Because this is where I started being like, like, no, Savannah, no, don't do it.
So then they like drink bourbon and like start playing Truth or Dare, and she tells him about how her parents like died in a tenement fire which was caused by a lightning strike.
Of course.
And that's why she's afraid of storms. So it all like comes back together. And yeah, so she's like, they get drunk, and then that leads to Truth or Dare, and then that leads to making out. And I was like, is this a high school theater party?
Hold on.
Is this a high school theater party? Because like, I recognize this in myself.
So, I gotta give a little excerpt. It's like, Truth or Dare, whatever. It's like, truth. He studied her expression and tried to ignore the shadow of anger or perhaps pain that she was deliberately trying to hide. And of course, she's having a Dinkelberg moment. If you could do anything in the world right now, what would it be? And then it's like this. Blake leaned in and pressed his mouth to her, swallowed her little gasp of surprise, tasted the bourbon on her warm, soft lips. And I wrote, okay, author, I'll hand it to you. I gasped in surprise at this. Like, I legitimately caught me off guard. And then I was like, this, however, was almost immediately followed by a scene where Savannah had a nightmare and yelled in her sleep about her parents dying and shit. Hey. And I genuinely rolled my eyes.
You need it. You have to get them together.
Oh my god.
Listen, because you can't have, and there's only one bed in, like, trope in this situation, because it would undermine him having such sweet digs if he only had one bed. But, so you might have some way to get them together, because they're like, no, we can't. We're drunk. We can't have sex right now. And I'm like, all right, Reese Ryan, good for you for practicing consent. I appreciate that.
But I just want to ask, like, from the romance perspective, because I'll say from literally all of the erotica books that I've read, I mean, legitimately every single one, and every series of erotica, there is always a nightmare scene. Where, like, the other person, sometimes it's the guy, whatever, like, you know, Christian in 50 Shades of Grey, like, you know, he's just like, my mom, wow, like, she's dead. And she's like, Christian, what's wrong? Like, there is always, it's like, aw, they're vulnerable. They're not just loaded. Yeah. They're not just hot. They have feelings and a backstory. It's like, I can feel that I can feel that I can fix that. Like, I don't know if that's a thing in just romance as well. There's always a nightmare scene.
The nightmare sequence is very much like a very classic trope.
Oh, but they're
vulnerable.
In terms of
just like getting them together. They're like, no, we can't, and then they get together, and then it like,
we did.
Oh, but we did. Yeah, so we have the classic nightmare scene. I literally wrote classic nightmare scene leads to sex.
Yep.
In my notes. And she's like, this definitely won't make us fall in love. Like, it's just once to get it out of our system. And I'm like, girl, that's not how this game works. So they start making out. He's fingering her. And the dogs are still in the room.
Oh my god! No!
In front of Benny the dog? But thankfully, before they like really start having sex, he sends the dog. There is a line where he's like, he put the dogs out of the room.
Oh my god!
So I was like, oh, good. We're not gonna have sex.
Can I just say, like, it's they proceed to have like sex anyway. Like,
Well,
you know,
they
get sexy. They don't have sex.
Peen and V.
Yes.
They don't have penetrate. I mean, they have oral and digital.
But
I mean, he makes her come like 20 million times.
I know, of
but
course.
not in front of the dogs.
Of course. They do that after the dogs leave. So it's like, okay, if that happens regardless, why did we have the scene where the dog's cute little beady eyes are just looking at them like, what? Reese Ryan, why was this? Why did we need to include because my libido vanished.
I love that. For some reason, like, fucking in front of the dogs is, like, even worse than, like, fucking in front of the baby.
Like, no, like, don't!
I've definitely read scenes where, like, they put the baby down for the nap, and then they have sex in the same room as the baby, and I'm like, you know, I don't really care. Like, that's fine.
Like, it's not great, but it's a newborn, and we can't leave him alone.
For some reason, like, when they have sex in front of pets, I'm like...
Please don't.
I'm like, oh no. So I'm glad that Reese Ryan was like, she's like, I have to establish a boundary here. They do have to leave
dogs
before
out of the room.
She cannot come in front of the dogs.
No.
So the next morning he goes out to, he doesn't have any food, so he goes to, like, his sister's house to, like, steal her food to make breakfast. And
again, we have to have the younger sister who's quick-witted, and she knows the glow on her big brother's skin when he's had sex.
She's like, you got dick. And
you look different. Yeah.
And meanwhile, while he's gone, Savannah is snooping around his house, like, looking for evidence.
Like the little rat that she is. She's like...
Great. She goes into his office, and then, like, his dog starts, like, putting his, like, muddy paws on the door because his dog has gone for a
because his dog is on narc.
Yeah, his dog, that's what I was like, he knows that she's been in his office because of his snitch dogs, but she's smart, and she, like, he, like, sees he's been in the office, and he's like, oh my god, why was she in my office?
Which was some real detective work, by the way.
He's like, the dog wouldn't have tried to go in if it weren't,
what
if
a good dog. What a good
like,
boy.
But Savannah's smart, and she's like, oh, I went in there to borrow a pen, like, here it is, here's it back.
She, like, sultrily...
And he's like, oh good, I'm glad there was a reasonable excuse, and I'm like, you're so dumb.
Okay.
You're such a himbo.
Well, she doesn't find anything. Yeah. Like, she's, like, unsuccessful all the time when she tries to find things out.
Except at the end when she finally gets caught.
Yeah, so she's unsuccessful!
But she finds it!
She's like,
so yeah, so she's stranded at his place, like, the whole weekend, so they have, like, a sex weekend.
Uh-huh.
And they finally have, like, peen sex. And we have, at this point, like, a little light choking. They're, like, standing, and he's, like, they're, like, back to front. Like, and he's got his, like, hands, like, lightly around her neck, like, while he's fingering her. And I was like, this is so hot.
Like, I was like, okay, I'm here for this. And then he's like, yeah, I knew you'd like that. I'm like, dude, if a dude was like, yeah, I knew you'd like that, I'd be like, just do it. Don't have director's commentary about your intention behind the work. Like, just do it.
Extended cut, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was super into it. But I also was like we said, Savannah's a top, so, like, I'm like, I feel like at some point, she definitely, not in this book, unfortunately, missed opportunity for King, but at some point, she definitely needs to, like, tie Blake up and just, like, have her way with him.
Yeah. A one-off.
Or, like, once a week.
Yeah.
They, like, schedule it.
No, I mean, like, a story, like a one,
like
a one-off,
one
yeah.
shot.
Yeah, one shot, yeah.
Reese Ryan, like, if you would like to provide that, or if you already have, then, like, I'll sign up for your newsletter.
Exactly.
Yeah, so they have a little light choking weekend, and at one point, they're practicing safe sex, everyone. They're using a condom. Like, she's on the pill, but she can't take her birth control pills right now because they're at her apartment, and she's obviously not there. But at one point, they fall asleep with his dick still inside her, with the condom on. But it's, like, several hours of, like, I guess the dick being inside her.
Yeah.
And so, and she's like, oh no, I don't have my birth control pills. And I'm like, girl, you're pregnant, congrats.
Oh my god.
At this point, I was like, I know how this ball goes. And yeah, he drives her back home and convinces her to go on a date with him, like, the next weekend. He's like, yeah. And then Blake's mom rolls in, and he confronts him, and he's like, you definitely want to fuck the new event manager. And he's like, but no, I don't. And she's like, don't play with me. You want to fuck her. I'm not going to say anything for now.
Yeah.
But, like, watch out, bitch.
Okay, side note, I really thought, and I put this in, like, towards the end, I was like, I really thought that Blake's mom was going to be, like, a huge problem in this book. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw her as, like, you know, just being, like, the real hard-headed businesswoman who's like, don't let your foolish, you know, emotions get in the way of the business. Like, she's just like, are you practicing safe sex? And, like, are you, like, not ruining the company? And then, you know, She's like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, that's literally how the conversation goes. She just ends with, like, all right.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. I don't like when, like...
There's always a parent problem,
I mean? Like,
yeah.
And it's always, like, the mom, you know what I mean? Like, it's always the mom, and there's, like, a specific, like, mom and or, like, ex-girlfriend trope that I really don't like. Cause
I will
it's
say
just,
this.
like,
Yeah.
villainizing, like, this random woman
the businesswomen,
in order to make the heroine look good, and I'm like, it's not necessary.
I love that the mom never said darling, by the way. That's been a huge nuisance and just a problem. The moms in these books always go, you know, hello darling, type of a thing. And I'm like, dude, or the guy's like, hello mother. Like, it's like, you know how you've never spoken to your moms before? Like, she's like, hello, darling. I'm like, ugh.
That's the same thing. Also, I like the sibling relationship in this, too, because I feel like often, so many times, not so much in books like these and, like, categories, but, like, in, like, a lot of contemporary romances that I've read recently,
yeah,
the sibling relationships is just so unrealistic and, like, duh. And I'm like, I just think, like, are all these authors just, like, only children, and they're just, like, imagining what a sibling relationship is?
Even Parker ended up not being, like, you know, this, like, devious villain, like, the black sheep of the family. It's like, he's just, like, just shoot straight with me.
He's just got a small stick up his ass. It's
fine. He's like, you know, there's gotta be one in every family to keep us all grounded, and that's it. Like...
And so I thought that the family relationship overall was, like, pretty, like, I was like...
It was.
I like this. I'm not annoyed. Like, I'm like, good. This was well done. Nobody called each other bro or sis. Like, always happens in the book. And I'm like, only an only child would have that happen.
I don't get why they included Cole, but
Well, I think he probably gets his own book. Maybe. I think it's probably just I did appreciate that not the entire family worked for this.
I was like, oh my god, there's so many siblings.
Like, Cole has his own construction, like, his whole, like, high-profile construction business.
Yeah.
And so I did appreciate that there was, like, one sibling who was like, nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, it's true.
I did like that. But yeah, so they have another weekend together. This is when he makes her strawberry rhubarb pie, because she's like, my sister always makes me strawberry rhubarb pie for my birthday. And so... it's my favorite, and so he makes her for it, and rhubarb is one of those things that just sounds like it would be super gross, but it's actually delicious.
It's, like, not easy to make, is it?
No, rhubarb is definitely difficult to use, but it's, like, it's delicious. I really like rhubarb.
So that was, like, a move. It's not like, oh, well, I had all the ingredients in here. Like, he was like, oh, I'm gonna go out of my way to do this for her.
Yeah, rhubarb is not something you just, like, have in your pantry.
Which, like, by the way, you know, I'm not saying, like, oh, she owes him anything or whatever, but I think it should be said that, like, he has only, like, sexually given to her. Yeah. And then has been like, we're not gonna have sex, though, like, because I just want to, like, take it slow.
At this point, they have had.
Oh, okay. Well, he was, like, really pushing.
The dick in with the condom.
Oh, that's right. Well, he was really pushing, like, hey, I want you to, like, be in your right mind, and, like, be choosing to do this and whatever, and it's, like you said, consent was, like, such, like, a big thing that, like, at least he was pushing. She's like, dude, I'm here, just fuck me, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna make you some rhubarb pie, because I know it reminds you of your childhood or whatever. I'm like, dude, he's so cute. Oh my god.
He's such a simp. I love him. So he starts asking about her past, and she's like, I can talk about my past. So she does a good old blowjob bait and switch. And then he does a reverse Uno in return, where he's like, I've never cared about anyone like you. And she's like, I'm just trying to give you a fucking blowjob? And you're confessing your feelings?
Oh my god.
And we got the Tinkleberg.
Exactly.
Love him. No.
And at this point, I'm like, both of you are annoying me. Like, dude, you just met her 11 minutes ago. Like, please relax.
It's like a month and a half.
Oh my god.
There's several, like, month-long time jumps in this book. So it feels a lot. It feels like it takes place in a lot shorter amount of time. It feels like it takes place in, like, 2 weeks, but it's actually, like, 3 months.
I guess.
So
just because this book is so short, it seems like it's, like, happened in, like, 2 weeks.
Right. So it's not... So they do know each other for, like, it's not unreasonable for them to, at the end of this book, be like, I'm in love with you. You know, they've known each other long enough that that's fine. And normally I don't really feel bad when the lady is, like, running a scam. Like, I don't really feel bad for the guy normally when, like, there's a lady running a scam and, like, using him. But I always feel bad when it's in the reverse. I get mad at the guy if the guy's running a scam and, like, the lady's being tricked. But in this case, I did feel bad for Blake.
Do you know how many notes I have where I'm like, can you imagine if this was about a guy doing this?
Yeah.
Like, this author would be blacklisted yesterday. Yeah. Like...
No, I know it's such a double standard, but in this case I was like, Blake is such a puppy. He's such a golden retriever puppy.
Yeah!
That, like, I feel very bad for him that he's getting scammed. Yeah, so now we get another time jump, and it's the 50th anniversary jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
Savannah's like, oh my god, I'm so tired and nauseous. Like, it must just
be
my
god
from planning this
yeah,
jubilee.
It's the stress, babe.
And I'm like, oh, you're pregnant. Oh, and she keeps, like, chugging ginger ale, and I'm like, you dumbass.
Like,
you having a baby?
She just happens to not be drinking this night because, you know.
Well, she's working. To be fair, she is working.
I guess.
So she's, like, great. She's like, this is wonderful. And she, like, sends Blake up to, like, go get something for her or whatever.
Which I thought this was where, like, she's gonna have the notebook out because they decided to include the notebook. Yeah. And they didn't. But I was like, oh, I thought she was gonna have that whole thing on the desk.
The espionage notebook is at her apartment. She doesn't take it. She's not dumb enough to take it. She's too competent to take it to work. Like, come on.
I don't know if I would totally label this girl as confident based on what happens later in the book, but...
But he goes up to get, and he sees a text from Lainey, her sister. Her sister's like, I don't know whether I can lie to Grandpa for that much longer. Because she hasn't told her Grandpa that she's seeking revenge on his behalf. And she's like, I'm giving you a week or whatever. He sees that, and he's like, that's nothing good.
Yeah.
I'm nervous. So he goes downstairs, and he's like, is there anything you want to tell me? And she's like, no. And then they have really hot sex in a closet.
I thought that they had sex in a bathroom.
No, it's a closet.
But like when she was like, oh, then we revisited the barn, and this was like the storage room or whatever where we had sex. And I was like, okay, good, because I thought that someone was going to walk in like, hello?
But her boobs are tender and slightly bigger than usual. Like, Blake's like, oh my god, her boobs are bigger. And she's like, oh my god, why are my boobs like so... Like, they're so much more sensitive. And I'm like, it's because you're all pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And I guess that's why it's, like, super necessary for there to be time jumps. Because, like, this isn't, like, a Twilight situation in which she has this baby in, like, a month. Like, she's a normal human woman having a normal human baby. And it's gonna take a little bit of time for the symptoms to start coming in. Ever since the, falling asleep with his dick inside you moment. And at this point, she is, like, the guilt is, like, finally, like, really hitting her. Like, she's really, like, starting to feel bad for the fact that she's, like, both trying to destroy Blake and also, like, falling for him. And she finally talks to Grandpa Abbott.
Yeah.
And he almost...
The guy who screwed over her grandfather.
And she's, like, so mad. And he almost spills the beans.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I had a partner before we went legit. And she's like, what was his name? And he's like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And
you know that scene in Wonder Woman where she's like, oh, I almost had him. And like, she's like, she's all dressed up. She has like the sword or whatever, who she thinks is like, the god of war. Yeah, and then they're like, no, stop. And she's like, oh, I could have gotten him. And it's like, obviously, we're not supposed to just do that. It had big Wonder Woman energy.
Yeah. Yeah, so he leaves, and then she sees the text from Lainey. She doesn't realize that, like, Blake might have seen it, and that's why he's been acting weird. And so now she has, like, a 2-week deadline before Lainey tells Grandpa. And now everyone's kind of, like, starts to get suspicious. Parker is suspicious of Savannah. He's like, I don't know, she's been asking a lot of questions. And to be fair to, like, Parker and Blake and the gang and everyone, like, they don't know that Grandpa Abbott, like, had a partner, that he worked. Like, he's never, like, told them that. So at this point, you're like, oh, like, is there something suspicious in there? So Savannah stays late so she can search through the old files room for, like, all the files, like, before they...
Oh my god. Here we go.
And she finds a pic of Grandpa Abbott and Grandpa Carlisle together. And she also finds Grandpa Carlisle's notebook. She knows that it's his notebook because it has, like, his handwriting. And as with all books, somehow, like, characters are able to recognize other people's handwriting. I don't know what superpowers, like, all book characters seem to have, because I certainly don't think... Like, I think I'd be able to recognize maybe my sister's handwriting. No, but, like, no.
Dude, my grandfather's?
Without context?
No.
And to be fair, she was raised by her grandfather, so, like, he's, like, more like a parent.
Like, I'm going to compare these to the Tooth Fairy letters that I was left on my pillow.
to the like, from Santa notes, like, on Christmas. So she finds that, and she's like, oh my god! And then she gets caught by Blake, Parker, and Max. And she still won't tell him the truth. He's like, tell me why you're in here. And she's like, I can't.
She's like, Blake, I'm sorry.
She's like, they could, if I tell them, like, they'll destroy all the evidence before, like, I have time.
Yeah.
And it's just very sad. But, okay, so Blake is like, Parker's ready to, like, call the cops. And Blake is like, no, we're not gonna fucking call the cops, both because I'm in love with her and also because it'll be bad PR.
Yeah.
And so Blake walks her to her office to, like, pack. And just as she's packing up her office, like, they're both so sad. And
this is actually the part of the book where I was like, this book is actually getting, like, quite good now.
she pulls, like, a little...
Oh, for the
present.
dog!
Yes, she pulls a fucking, like, thunderstorm shirt. Like, I guess they make
It's a
shirts for
thunder
dogs
shirt, yeah.
to, like, make them, like, calmer during thunderstorms. And she pulls one out that she bought for
Benny.
She's like, I bought him a thunderstorm shirt. And I'm like,
oh my god, Benny! I want to jump cut to Benny just being like, like, meanwhile.
Yeah, Benny's just like napping by the fire. He's like, so the next day she's like sad after being fired. She thinks she has like a virus or something, and she calls her sister. She's like, yeah, I've just been really tired and I've been throwing up. And like her sister's like, you're late, aren't you?
Oh my god.
And she's like, late for work? They fired me. And she's like, bitch, no, your period's late,
yeah.
isn't it? And she's like, shit.
Yeah.
And her sister's like, you're fucking pregnant. Meanwhile, she runs off to like get a pregnancy test.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Max has discovered the grandpa connection.
Yeah.
And he tells Blake, and he's like,
I looked at her birth certificate and her last name.
I don't know why they have access to her birth certificate, because I definitely did not need to provide my birth certificate when I...
That's if you don't want to give your, like, social security number.
But you have to give your social security number.
There's something where, like, it's, like, your birth certificate or, I think, like, your license or something like that, just to, like, show your...
Oh.
Yeah, you have to do your social security.
Why would she give her a license? You have to
I was like, Savannah, why would you get... I thought the same thing. I was like, why would you give your birth certificate, where it literally says McDowell, which is her grandfather's last name, under her mom's maiden name or whatever? I'm like, dude, you are not a scheming girl. Like, you're not good at this. You're not a sleuth.
Savannah, she's very good at being an event manager. She's
not a sneaky fox. She's a stone cold fox. She's not a sneaky fox.
So Blake goes to confront Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
And she finally tells him the truth. She's like, your grandpa's a fucking crook. Like, fuck him. I hate him so much. Your family is the enemy. And Blake is like, that's not true. My grandpa's a saint. And she's like, ask him. And then she breaks a glass, and he's like, you know, obviously he's a golden retriever, so he's like, you're not wearing any shoes. Like, stay on the fucking counter. I'm not cleaning up this glass for you. Like, I'm not gonna let you get hurt. And he goes to clean up the glass, and he goes into the bathroom to, like, wet a towel or something, and he sees the pregnancy test.
He sees 3 of them sitting out.
Well, no, 1 on the counter and then 2 in the trash.
Okay, there's 1 on the counter, which I just want to say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but that means, dudes listening to this, it's a freshly peed on pregnancy test, okay? So, it's like, Blake, why are you being dumb? I was rooting for you. Did you know about the pregnancy before the gala? Bro, you picked up the pregnancy test off the counter, freshly peed on. Like, there's no way that shit wasn't still wet. She literally, like, had the pregnancy test taken or whatever. She took the 3rd one. And then she's like, okay, like, you know, I'm gonna be a mother. And, like, I really wish that, like, you know, I could tell Blake this and, like, we'd be, like, joyfully, you know, celebrating or whatever. And it's like, and then she thinks Kaylee's knocking on the door, and it's Blake. So literally, she just found out that she's pregnant. Pissed. Like, legitimately, like, she probably didn't have time to wipe. Like, and he's at the door, and he's like, did you know about the pregnancy before the gala? And you're just trying to, you know, get 50% of the company. It's like, dude, I get it. I would be suspicious too, but, like, you are very high up in this company. There's no way you're that dumb.
Well, it's, you know, it's fuck, what's it called when, you're only there because of your family?
Loyalty?
No, there's like I've said it before on the podcast.
You're only there because of your family?
Where, like, you only got the job because of your family. It's, nepotism.
Nepotism? Yeah.
True. Yeah, they're all VPs of this company at, like, 28
but they've all proven themselves to be, like,
28.
really young and smart.
Yeah, whatever. No, I mean, they're competent, but it's just, like, alright.
I was beside myself. He's like, did you? I was like, dude, shut up.
And to be fair, she was like, I... like, just got found out today, but I was gonna go to a doctor and get it, like, officially confirmed, because I didn't think you would believe me.
Dude, 3 pregnancy tests, you're
I'm
pregnant.
like, sweetie, those tests, like, in 2015, or the fuck this book came out, like, this isn't the 70s where it's like 50-50 chance that it's accurate. Like, your fucking clear
you're
blue
pregnant.
pregnancy
Exactly.
test is right. If it's enough that it shows up, like, clearly on a pregnancy test, like, you're definitely pregnant.
Also, side
you could
note,
have, like, a tumor or something.
Oh god, it's true. He came in right after she took a pregnancy test with a baby blue shirt on, and she wrote that, and I was like, I wonder if they're having a boy.
I didn't even notice.
Dude,
that.
I immediately noticed that they said a baby blue,
Wow.
and I was like,
Reese Ryan, I see what
you scoundrel,
you naughty. So she confesses, she's like, I didn't mean to hurt you, whatever, and she admits that she fell in love with him, but he's like too pissed to reciprocate it.
Which, like, is suspicious timing, but, like, it's just...
I get it.
She wasn't even gonna tell him, honestly. Like, she was like, oh, I hope that he's, like, involved, like, but I want to get a doctor's test, and she was like, you know...
She was gonna tell him about the baby. She wasn't gonna keep it from him.
Yeah, I'm saying she was, like, not gonna be like, oh, you have to marry me, kind of a thing. She was like, you should be involved. So she wasn't clearly being like, oh, we're gonna get married and I'm gonna, like, take half of your money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's
That'd
worried.
be the first thing she would say,
She's worried that he would think that he would think that
which he definitely did.
He definitely at one point he's like, oh my god, like, is this all a lie? So anyway, he goes to confront Grandpa Abbott, and he tells Grandpa Abbott, like, the story, and Grandpa Abbott is like, well...
There's something I didn't tell you!
It's like half true, so, like, he was my partner, and, like, we did do the recipes together, but then I bought him out, but I, like, also scammed him, because I knew he had a gambling problem, so I, like, bought him out for, a lump sum that was, like, a lot less than, like, the 40% of the company.
Because I knew he'd take it, yeah.
So he's like, I do feel bad about that, so I did technically scam him, but, like, I definitely, like, legally, he definitely has no legal right to the company.
Yeah.
So basically both grandpas have been, like, lying out of their fucking asses. These, like,
yeah.
You can't trust old men. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, they're, like, both, like, winded before they tell
the
truth. He like, wheezes an old man.
Savannah's grandpa's, like, 90, and then Grandpa Abbott is, like, in his 70s. So they're both, like, it took a long time for them to finally admit the truth.
Grandpa McDowell is, like, rapidly declining, but has time to be like, you know, I really did have a gambling addiction, so, like, my bad. I didn't tell you this your whole life. I didn't think you were that loyal to the family that you would just uproot your life and, like, sabotage the Abbott.
Like, bedtime stories. Like, I didn't think you were gonna take any of this seriously. Yeah, so Grandpa Abbott's like, I have some work to do. And then Lainey shows up at Magnolia Lake, and she's like, Savannah, we're gonna take a drive. And she drives there to, like, a local hospital where Grandpa has been admitted. It's, like, a fancy, like, experimental therapy for, like, whatever disease he has. He has some sort... He's dying. We don't know what he's dying of. He has some sort of disease. So he's getting really good medical care, courtesy of Grandpa Abbott. And Grandpa Abbott... And Grandpa Carlisle McDowell, also, he's like, I mean, I got bought out. Like, I'm still pissed about it, but, like, he did technically... There wasn't anything, like, nefarious. But then he's like, Grandpa Abbott gave me this nice medical care and also gave us 5% of the company.
Which is over $1 million.
Yes. So they're, like, rich.
And she's, like, crying and shit, and it's not just the hormones.
Yeah.
It's like, yay, old men are happy and...
doing well, finally, after, like, passing on that generational trauma.
But, like, that was never gonna happen if Savannah wasn't, like, just like, hey.
He, like, never thought to look him up.
He's like, oh, you know what?
I guess.
Maybe that was a little shitty. Alright. Here's
like
a crumb.
Literally 50 years later.
Dude.
It's right before that he went legit. Anyway. So then, like, Blake's in his office, and he's still sad and mopey. And the mom comes in, and she's like, listen, I know that Savannah, like, low-key broke your heart and also tried to backstab us, but, like, she's really fucking
good at her job.
She's so good at her job. So, like, we're gonna hire her back.
And he's like, what about the no dating policy? And she's like, oh, that's fine, too.
She's like, whatever. She's like, listen, like, she's having your kids, so, like, she's gonna be in our lives anyway, and she's also really fucking good at her job, so, like, we're gonna hire her back. She also owns 5% of the company now.
Not a single person, including Blake or Savannah, is like, oh, shit, this pregnancy. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, this is just happening now. Like, this is just part of, you know, she's just like, oh, you know, this is what comes next. The grandfather's not like, what? Are you serious? Holy crap. And, like, the mom's not like, oh, shit, okay, you know. And, like, even Savannah's like, well, I'm just gonna be a mother.
Yeah.
And Blake is like, oh, was this part of your plan? Like, no one's like, oh, a person's coming into the world. It's just like, yeah, this is just another Tuesday.
That's the thing about the problem. So I like secret. I know this is going to be a controversial opinion in Romancelandia, but I really like the secret baby trope. But I usually only really like it in, and this isn't really secret baby because like he finds out like as soon as she does.
Yeah.
But I usually only like it in historicals, because in historicals, if you get accidentally pregnant, like, okay, sure, you could take the poison abortion juice and have a 50-50 chance of you dying too, or you can just have this baby.
Yeah.
And so I'm like much more like, okay, like, she had no choice, like, maybe she's not going to tell him because she doesn't want him to life or whatever. I'm much more accepting in historicals, but in contemporaries, I'm like, girl, you got a lot of options. Like, you don't have to have this baby.
I mean, like, but it was just like...
So, like, I'm glad that there wasn't, that wasn't, like, necessarily like, oh, am I going to keep the baby? I don't know, like, what am I going to do? Oh my god, I'm pregnant, like, she's free. I'm glad that wasn't a big plot point, because in contemporaries, I'm like, you got a lot of options.
To me, I was just like, oh, money. I forgot, everyone's loaded. It's like the Kardashians having kids.
Oh,
it's just true. Like, oh, like, this is just part of the plot line.
Yeah, they don't have to worry.
Like, it's like, oh, Kylie's pregnant or whatever. It's like,
whatever.
Yeah, sure. Like, what, we can't afford to have a baby?
It's like, alright, we'll do this side quest now.
Even
like,
her, she's like, whoa, well, Grandpa has $1.5 million now, so, like, I'm good.
Which is good, yeah. So...
I will say it was really sad that, like, he didn't have, like, an excited reaction. Like, that actually did make me sad.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Because I don't blame him.
Like, he, like, threw the pregnancy stick on the cat, and I was like, oh, I, like, just want to give Savannah a hug, because, you know, I'm like, oh, it's just you and your baby in the room. It's so sad.
I want to give Blake a hug, too.
I want to give everyone a hug, yeah, like...
a hug. Let's just hug it out.
Exactly.
Here's some chocolate, like, here's some tea, let's just calm down.
That's right.
Yeah, so the mom is like, we're gonna hire her back, and also she's like, listen, she's ride or die for her family, and, like, so are you, and I feel like you're being, like, she's like, Blake.
Yeah, she's like, what if the tables return?
Yeah, she's like, if someone screwed over Grandpa Abbott, you're telling me that, like, you wouldn't go to the ends of the earth to, like, avenge him, and Blake is like, damn you for using logic to best me.
Yeah.
So, Savannah shows up at his house. Like, he pulls up at his house, and Savannah's been waiting in the driveway, because she's like, I'm leaving, but, like, I just want to say goodbye, like, I don't want to leave, like, on a horrible note. And she's like, I love you, like, I'm sorry, like, can you ever trust me again? And Blake, this bitch, just turns around, goes into his house.
It was incredible.
So they walked the dogs and, like, had a whole conversation, and then he just takes the dogs back to the house. He just turns around.
And, like, goes, he doesn't even say bye, he's just like...
He just turns around. And then he has the nerve, so he comes back out, and he sees her, like, about to drive away in her car, and he has the nerve to be like, just like that, you're walking away? And I'm like,
oh my god.
I was rooting for you.
Like, and you know, it's like, oh, in Blake's head, it was like, he just, like, couldn't stand to see her leave, like...
Yeah.
And it was, like, it was kind of nice, because it wasn't like, oh, like, she's carrying my child, so I couldn't bear to watch them go. It was like, she's leaving. You know, it was really, like, not just, oh, I care about her now because she's having my kid.
Yeah. And that's what I appreciated about the pregnancy, was that they were very much like, listen, like, this baby, like, we're gonna be co-parents to this child, like, regardless of, like, whether we're together. So, like, their relationship does not hinge on the fact. Because I think that's a lot of the times what people sort of don't like about the secret baby thing, is because they're like, well, now I don't know whether they're only together because of the child, or whether they're together because they actually want to be together. And I think Reese Ryan does a really good job in this book of being like, yes, they're together because they want to be together. Like, the child is not a factor in terms of, like, them being a couple. But yeah, I kind of wish, though, that she had, like, already been, like, pulling out of the driveway. Yeah. And, like, that he kind of had to chase after her.
The whole, like, don't get on that plane!
Yeah, like, I kind of, just a little bit. I wish that he had to, like, sprint down the street.
I totally understand.
But yeah, so then he's like, he's like, just like that, you're walking away? And she's like, bitch, you left. And then he's like, fine, like, I'm in love with you too, like, let's try again. And then we have an epilogue after they've scandalously had a baby out of wedlock.
The epilogue actually made me choke up, for real. It was a really beautifully written epilogue. It was really cute. Like, which I just want to say was not par for the course with this book. Like, most of the time I was just like, out loud. Like, I was just like, girl, like, dude, stop. And, like, the epilogue was, like, so nice. Like, it was so nicely written. It's their wedding, and their little baby, I forget the name. Davis, of course, it's a boy. And, like,
yeah, Baby Blue?
Yeah, Baby Blue. And it was just, like, it was so cute. And, of course, they had to have the mermaid, which really accentuated her voluptuous bottom. I was like, bro, I got it. You still thirst even through marriage and having a child. Like, I got it. Like,
ride or die. Like, that's how it should be. I want my romance.
I wish that she went down the aisle in a fucking pantsuit. Like, she was just like, boom! Like, she was already at the end of the aisle. She's like, time's money, let's go.
My headcanon is that the reception, she changes into a pantsuit. That she fully has, like, she does, like, a whole outfit change. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, there was a really cute part at the end where she, like, falls in his arms or something like that. It's, like, when they're still in the driveway. And it was
the
like
dog, the Benny almost knocks her over.
Yeah, Benny almost knocks her over.
He
catches her, and it was like, you know, it was the first time they, like, really looked at each other, and, like, his hand was kind of, like, over by the baby, so it was like, you know, for a second, it was just, like, us and, like, our baby, and I was like, damn, there were some in this book legitimately really great lines, and like that was one of them.
And at the end of the book, like, they have, like, obviously they have make-out tests, and then, like, they're, like, curled up, and he's like, he put his hand over her belly,
like, she's sleeping, and he puts his hand over the belly. I really am, like, a
sim for those scenes.
Oh my god, absolutely! I was like,
pregnant, and the hero's, like, so into the fact that she's pregnant.
It's so cute, and, like, I had to, like, so let me start with the good quotes, okay? Let me start with the good quotes. He says, there's a deep sadness behind those brown eyes. And I was like, dude, no one would ever say that. But that's poetically beautiful. I was like, damn!
Blake.
And strawberry rhubarb! Like, are you kidding me?
Blake, I did not think you were smart enough for this, but I'm glad that you are.
And it's like, Savannah dropped his gaze from his. You try to mask it by throwing yourself into your work, and you ward off anyone who gets too close with that biting wit, but it's there, even when you laugh. And I just wrote underneath, nice! like a thumbs up.
Your English teacher's coming out.
I know. It's so obnoxious. I also want you to know that I did highlight, because I know the cat skill.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk.
I had page 38. It says she looked at him as if he'd kicked before she looked at him as if he'd kicked a kitten. And I was like, it's not what I was used to. But we got one kitten in there. I was paying attention. There is one cat mentioned in this book.
Alright, let's talk about the cat. So I'm glad you reminded me, because I completely
and it's like, before she looked at us, if you get the kitten, I had it in all bold on my notes. I was like, yes!
Okay. So we got the one cat reference. They're not really ever compared to cat. I don't think he does, like, much growling. There's not...
No?
I think there is... Maybe not. No, actually, I think I'm thinking of another book that I'm also reading simultaneously, which She Mules. I don't think She Mules are
No, I would have remembered that.
No muling. And he has dogs. Mm-hmm. So, like, yeah, so we said he's a golden retriever, like, fully. Mm-hmm. Do we think she's a cat?
I don't know. I wrote that, I said, this girl's eyes are constantly widening. Yeah, I guess it's just, like, I don't know. I was like, this is, like, the cousin of she looks like a kitten. Yeah. Like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like, he's so large and in charge, her eyes widening. I'm like,
Cause she's like, so she's got the, like, sort of standoffish, like, plotting.
She's like, I'm a tiger, but then, like, sometimes she's like, oh.
Yeah.
Like,
but she's so bad at being sneaky and being a sleuth, which is more
she's
like
literally
dog-like.
Only good at her job. She's so good at her job.
She's like a puppy Great Dane, where, like, her paws are just too big, so she's
like slipping all over the ground.
Yeah, so I don't know, like, she's like a cat dog. Like, she's like both. But she's only being sneaky because, like, I feel like after that she's not, like, once it all comes out, she's not gonna be sneaky anymore. She's gonna be competent. But she's so good at her job, and I just feel like
she's so good at her job.
Is very cat-like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think any of the other characters. I just didn't get, like, cat or dog vibes from any of those. Maybe Parker's a cat because he's, like, has a small stick up his ass.
You know, like cats do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone was, like, super witty in this book. Like, there was no one, like, there's no, like, oh, she was, like, really tiny in stature and had, like, mousy brown hair and was constantly looking down. No. It was, like, Savannah, like, curb stomps her way into the office, like, immediately.
Savannah takes off one of her heels, stabs the man with a stiletto, puts it back on, walks in for the interview.
It's like... Just like
she stabs one of the other people.
Puts her resume through this man's body.
She like, throws her resume up there, and then it like
solidifies into the.
No, it like goes into like the wall, and then it just like slides right by his face, and he looks at it, and the heel is just vibrating with like the resume pinned to the wall.
Even the format is so impressive. I mean. She's, like, I don't know, she just ping-pongs so much, Savannah. Yeah. She's, like, really, really, like, super confident and blah, 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 and then she's just, like, sloppy.
Yeah.
Like, almost overly confident.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. She's really...
But there's never a point where I was like, it's not authentic.
Yeah.
Like, she seems like, actually, like, she really knows she's that bitch.
Yeah, she is.
But she's just so bad at being a sneaky person.
I feel like her personality is that of, like, maybe like a German Shepherd. Mm-hmm. So, like, very smart, like a very smart dog, but still a dog.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, I'm the fastest, and then it runs into a wall.
And then it, like, hits the screen door because it doesn't see it.
You heard it here. Savannah's a German Shepherd. And a screen door.
All right. Okay, so do you have a number in mind for the cat skill?
Oh, low. It's low.
Yeah.
What is yours?
Or we're gonna say it at the same time. Wait, I have to think of mine. I never think of mine in advance. I'm always taken by surprise by the cat skill. 2, 1, 2.
Hey! 2. Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's, like, nothing or 1. Like, I'll give it a fair 2.
One is, like, a courtesy. We're like, we liked this book.
Yeah.
Not a lot of cat energy.
Yeah.
2, I feel like there was a smidge more. There was, like, a little sprinkling of cat.
Yeah.
In there.
I feel like this is the lower end of cat skill for the books that you've discussed.
It's definitely not, listen, it's no Twilight.
You want cats? We got cats.
We got big cats. We got small cats. We got furry cats.
You want it? We got it. But if you want something done carefully, this is not the book for you.
Call Savannah.
Do not call Savannah.
Is there anyone? I guess Parker. I would think Parker.
Bro, Parker is the sleuth. Actually, Max was the sleuth, because Max was, like, checking her birth certificate and crap. Yeah. I feel like, actually, Savannah hated Magnolia Lake.
No.
Like, she liked Magnolia Blake, and that's it.
That's the tea.
Like, that's it. She's just constantly like, oh, this narc town. Like, I can't even leave my driveway.
Yeah.
Like, and she's gonna have this secret child? Like, are you serious? No. The Bourbon Brothers.
I loved it. I love these cover models. They're both very hot.
I was so happy. I just saw a sexy workplace romance, and I was like, yes, 100%.
This is what I want.
I love that forbidden love shit.
This is the only thing I wanted that we didn't get was them fucking on the desk.
Yeah, I was like, dude, there's so many, they talk about the desk so many times.
But I also get, here's my thing, because there's so much nepotism, because it's, like, a very much a family business. So, like, in a regular workplace romance, like, if your secretary walks in, it's like, oh, no, scandalous, but, like, they're not gonna, like, have trauma. Whereas, like, your mom walks in on you having sex.
Oh my god! Oh my god.
You know what I mean?
No,
it's
but
like
it's so true. It's so true.
So, like, I get, Reese Ryan was like, that's too much of a risk.
Like, everyone who, like, works, like, you know, like, they have, like, a crush on their coworker or something like that, or, like, their boss or whatever is like, I really want to have sex in the office or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, but... Think about that. Yeah, but don't do that. And then the poor cleaning people have to come in, and they're like, no! What did you do?
Is this mayo?
This is... Oh, no! It's like... That is, I mean, I guess for the story, but, like, I'm such an anxious person that I would be like, no! Like,
I would be so
oh my god.
So nervous.
I'm like,
that's
no.
The thing is, like, objectively, like, sort of in the abstract, I would like to join the Mile High Club, but I know that I would, like, never have the gut, unless it was, like, a private
Do you know how hard plane? It must be to be in the Mile High Club?
Unless you have, like, a private plane. That's the thing. That's
that has to be it. Like, there's the only... I mean,
no, people fuck in the bathroom.
Yeah, but there's always, like, a stewardess, like, or, like, just there. And it's like, dude, don't, please. I do not get paid enough for this.
Yeah.
And that shit is so small.
Jeez.
Oh my god. You'd have a better chance on, like, a Greyhound bus. Ew, you would. You definitely would have a better chance on a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, but it'd be like somehow like significantly grosser.
You would like die. I feel like you would just...
You would just get immediately instant chlamydia, instant death.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
You know what book would never sell? The Greyhound romance.
Fucking
the Greyhound rendezvous.
Bathroom on the Greyhound. A Harlequin romance.
Oh my god. It's actually underneath the category of horror.
Okay. Alright, so
Yay.
you can find us. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or like us on Facebook at We Read It One Night. Follow us on Twitter at We Read It Podcast, or email us We Read It One Night at gmail.com. And just to hype up our TikTok, guys, like we've now gone viral several times.
It's actually really funny TikTok. I'm not just saying that.
So I'm just saying, like, if you're not following us on TikTok, like, you're missing out.
So you guys are on Spotify, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, we finally have, so Spotify finally lets you rate podcasts. So you can, wherever you listen, if you have the option to rate and review, please do that. Give us 5 stars. That really helps us out. And then leave us a review, like, if you think there's something we do really well, if there's anything you think we can do better, or if you have a book you'd like us to do, you can mention that in your review, or you can email that to us or DM us. We do have a few episodes coming up that were listener suggestions, so that's really exciting. And we finally, Spotify finally let you rate podcasts, and we got over 10 ratings, which means you can now see our rating, which is very exciting. So contribute to that. Yeah, reach out. And if you want Dana to come back, have like another guest appearance, let us know.
Yeah.
Rachel will be back next week.
Well, if you have any more saucy bossy romances, absolutely.
Yeah. Godspeed, comrades.
Ooh.